Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to G-Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert. It's finally cooled down enough where I can actually get up and do a video here. It reached 111 degrees here today, and that was the second day in a row, right about the same time, both days. But the report says it's going to be cooler tomorrow. We'll see about that. So anyway, 26 mile an hour winds right now coming out of the west and southwest back and forth. Do feel pretty good. I got the windows open, air conditioning is shut off, and we're just accepting some nice fresh air from outside. Feels good. All right, so don't click off just because I'm going to say this. Don't be afraid. This is something that's going to be explained to you so simply, even a first grader can understand it. Okay, so be careful not to hit the shutdown button. We're going to talk a little bit about electricity. All right. First of all, in electricity, I was asked today, I got some solar panels from Harbor Freight, and I'm going to mount them on my vehicle. How do I ground them so that lightning won't hit them? All right, well, that opens up a few other questions. Well, here in layman's terms, first of all, what happens with grounding? Grounding means to attach an electrical appliance to the earth ground. That's what it means. Okay, the ground out there, the dirt. And that is how you ground an electric circuit. Now you got to have a ground rod driven 6 to 8 feet into the ground, and then a wire attached to that goes to your electrical circuit panel before you can ground any separate circuit that you have. Okay, so remember that. You don't have a ground unless you're attached to the earth. All right? Now, on a car or a vehicle or a van or a truck or whatever you're talking about, some people will say, I've got a positive and negative on the battery, and the negative is the ground. That's not necessarily true. Because it's not attached to the ground, it's really not a ground. Okay? All it does is anchor the power to the chassis of the vehicle. But because your vehicle has rubber tires between any metal and the ground, it's insulated. It's not grounded. That's why lightning doesn't strike vehicles very often. Now let's get into lightning. Okay, lightning, a lot of people think, shoots out of the sky from a nasty cloud down to the earth and strikes the earth. Not true. Okay, that's not true, and there's one you can tell your friends about. Actually, what happens is there's a negative charge from the earth that's climbing up into the sky. And as a storm cloud passes over, there's a positive charge in that cloud. Now, when the positive charge and the negative charge meet midway up in the sky, then the power from the ground shoots up to the cloud. Okay, so actually, lightning isn't coming out of the cloud down to the ground. It's coming from the ground and meeting halfway in the sky and then continuing up to the cloud. And that's when you see the bright flash. All right? So when some people say, lightning struck right out there. No, it didn't strike right out there. It began right out there. Okay, now, yes, the charge will cause an explosion on the ground, but the power, the transfer of the power was actually going from negative to positive. And that's another argument of people with electricity. does electricity flow from positive to negative or negative to positive? Well, many people will tell you if you're going to put a breaker or a fuse in your system, put it on the negative side. Why? Well, because it goes negative towards the positive like a lightning bolt. That's what causes the big flash and boom. So if you put the breaker or a fuse in the negative line, that negative charge can't reach the positive charge and cause the big boom, right? All right, well, that's still an argument to be heard. I won't get too confusing on you. I just want to let you know that stuff like that is what gets everybody confused about electricity. All right, so if you're going to have solar panels on your vehicle, don't worry about lightning striking your solar panels. You have a better chance of lightning striking your vehicle without solar panels than you would with solar panels. All right, so don't worry about that part. All right, next we're going to get into LiFePO4 batteries. This is something I promised I would do for another viewer. Okay, if you got a LiFePO4 battery like I've got right here in front of me, 12 volt, 100 amp hour. Actually, it says 12 volt on it, but it is actually 12.8 volts in LiFePO4. Now, in your lead acids, they're 12 volt. So some people will argue and say 12.6 volt. But with LiFePO4, trust me, it's 12.8 volts. And that's what you see right here, 1,280 watt hours. So if you multiply 12.8 times 100, you'll get 1,280. And that's the math. So with this battery, what is the proper charge current that you need for this battery? So you say you want to buy a charger to charge this battery, but you want to buy a charger that's going to charge it at its best capability without being too much or too little. First, let's stop right there and say, one thing that everybody forgets, they look at this and they say, that's a battery. Well, actually, this is a little computer. Okay, right under this cover, somewhere inside of this case, there's what's called a BMS, which is a battery management system. It's a computer board. Just like your desktop, your laptop, your whatever you want to call them, any type of computer you have, it's going to have a motherboard built into it. Regular lead acid batteries do not have that motherboard in them. So those are basically batteries. These are brain-controlled power storage units. It seems wrong to call them a battery, but because they look like one, that's what people call them. Okay, so what do you got here? You got a storage unit that will hold 1,280 watt hours. What's watt hours mean? That means that you can use 1,080 watts for 1 hour on that battery with a full charge. So what's that mean? Well, let's do some simple math here. Let's say you had your whole house set up with 100 watt light bulbs. Okay, everything that you had in your house was 100 watt light bulb, and you hooked this battery up to that lighting circuit. Well, for 1 hour, you can run 12 plus a little bit, 12.8 of those light bulbs off of this one battery for 1 hour. 12.8 of those light bulbs at 100 watts each off of this one battery. Okay, now that's a lot of power. You can't do that with a 12-volt lead-acid battery. It won't work. All right, you won't get that much service out of it. Now, how do you determine the optimal charger for charging this battery? Well, the companies that sell these will tell you that the number they use is 0.2. So you want to go 0.2 of the 100 amp hours. And that will tell you what the battery's optimal charge would be. Well, that seems like a lot of math, right? Let's simplify it. 0.2 is 2/10. 2/10 is 1/5. Okay? So that means you can divide that number right there, 100 amp hours, by 5. Okay? That would be 1/5 of the 100 amp hours. So 5 goes into 100 20 times. Optimal charger for this is a 20 amp charger. All right. Now, let's say, for instance, it was a 20 amp hour battery. You divide that by 5. Well, that's 4 amps. So the maximum you can charge that smaller battery with is a 4 amp charger. If you try to use a 20 amp charger on a 20 amp hour battery, it'll just shut off. Why? Because it has a brain. It has a computer in there, and the computer is set that to not allow over 0.2 or 1/5 of the battery capacity for a charger. Okay? It's that simple. It's not confusing. It's very simple. So if I tried using a 40 or an 80 amp charger on that battery, it would turn on to the red like it was charging and click right off to green and shut off right away. Because it's too much current going into the battery. The computer inside of the battery says, no, no, no. That's overamping. Beep, shut it down. That prevents the battery from exploding. So, these batteries are actually a lot safer than lead acid, because a lead acid battery, if you throw a charger on there that's way too big for the battery, it'll blow the battery up before anything else is recognized. These batteries have a computer brain inside of them, and they will protect that from happening. Okay, so don't think you're freaking out if there's something like that happening to you. There's nothing wrong with your battery. There's nothing wrong with your charger, except that they're not compatible. All right? I hope that helps you guys. I hope that straightens out a little confusion. If not, leave your questions and comments in the section below. And while you're down there, hit that thumbs up and click on subscribe. I still have close to 70% of the people who watch my channel who aren't subscribed. And it's free. It costs you nothing more than the flick of your finger to hit the subscribe button. But it really helps me out. So I appreciate that if you do hit the subscribe button, and leave comments below, and share it with your friends. Tell them, hey, check this guy out. You got a question? He gets back to you right away. Just like this company right here, WattCycle. I am an affiliate of WattCycle, and I do stand by their products, and I stand by that company, because if you have a situation that you don't understand, contact them. They get right back to you. Except you got to remember there's a time difference from where they are and where you are. So you may have to wait a day for your information to get to the person before it gets back to you. So, but they will contact you and take care of your situation instantly. I've had people, my followers tell me they've dealt with WattCycle and they've had the same experience. Nothing but good comes out of WattCycle. So stick with them. I want to thank y'all for joining me. This is G-Bear. Hey, wait a minute. You didn't click. You. Right there. You. You. You didn't click that like button and you didn't click subscribe. Now do it. G-Bear signing off.